And we're live. Welcome back to the Joe Mobley Show, all of you fine ladies and gentlemen out there. I'm Joe Mobley, the original uncloseted conservative and still the host of the Joe Mobley Show, which would be kind of interesting if, what if someone replaced me? That would, I don't know. I'm having existential thoughts. Interesting show for you guys tonight. We've got Free Haitians, which you heard right. Not Free the Haitians, but Free Haitians, which is, I wonder how the algorithm's going to like that. Speaking of algorithms, if you haven't heard, algorithms are dangerous. They can and do harm. And after you're done laughing that I said do, then you can get back in with us. We're talking about a very unfortunate child who has a mom who does OnlyFans and how that goes over with their school life, which is only in 2024. Like, is this an actual thing? And a couple of more stories. I promise, I am not going to end this live until we react to at least one clip. So we are going to do some kind of reacting to some kind of clips tonight. And we've got a few more spicy topics for you guys, all that and more. And it all starts right now. Before we get into the show, let me tell you about tonight's sponsor. It is Z-Stack. Guys, go to thejoemobleyshow.com/Z-Stack. Use promo code Mobley to get the best vitamins and supplement from Z-Stack Live. Dr. Zelenko's best. Guys, this stuff is good for you. It's GMP certified, it's kosher certified, and it's made in an FDA certified facility, whatever that means to you. The FDA doesn't mean much to me anymore. If you need vitamins and supplements for kids, for bedtime, if you need quercetin, zinc, vitamin K, vitamin C, any of these things, go to Z-Stack to get it. The website is thejoemobleyshow.com/Z-Stack. Promo code Mobley at checkout. Mobley is spelled Mobley. All right, that was a lot shorter. That ad read was redonkulous. So much shorter. They're happy with it. I'm happy with it. This is business. You meet in the middle. Samantha, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing okay. I apologize for my absence last week. I had a sick kid that kept me awake all night, and as parents, we're pretty much used to functioning on no sleep, but at that point I was beyond not functioning. So I felt like I couldn't even form a coherent sentence. So I was like, at the risk of, I didn't want to get on here and start sounding like our president of the United States. So I decided it was better to save myself the embarrassment, because some of us know our limits. Some of us know when, public speaking is not going to work in our favor, and we choose to back out. So that is the choice I made last week, but I'm excited to be back this week. And I know that we have a lot of really fun things to talk about.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. I am excited. Before we get into the stories, let me pull this up. Guys, where's my screen? There it is. If you haven't seen, heard, if you're not on my email list or anything like that, since I started the show, I wanted to do a members only little something. That is finally happening. Last week was the first one if you missed it. Anyway, you can go to thejoemobleyshow.com/locals to become a member of my locals community. Membership is free. You don't have to pay anything for this. But immediately after the show, the live stream, I'm jumping over there for a members only show. It's 30 minutes. It's a lot of fun. And it's not like the Twitter vibe that can be a little weird, or Facebook that is very weird. So link is below for that. And if you feel like you have to become a paid supporter, I'm not going to turn you down. But yeah, jump over there and watch the rest of the show. I don't even know how to say that.
Catch the after party.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, this isn't as bad as Taylor Swift, but I was surprised when I opened the show planner and see in all caps, and I think it was like bold, free Haitians. And I'm like, she did it again. She did it again. Like, I've got like the image of Captain Phillips and that like Somali pirate in my head. Like, anyway, I know that's probably not PC, but that's okay.
What does that even mean these days? What does being politically correct even mean? Yeah. So I wasn't sure if you had seen this particular story, but
No.
oh my goodness. And it's not like I have to really go searching for these things. I pretty much just have to like open Twitter or click on Facebook and something completely absurd just jumps right I have to actually be selective about the absurdity that I pick to talk about because there are so many choices. It's just the supply is unlimited right now.
100%.
It is the only thing that we are not suffering a shortage of right now is absurdity and insanity. So
when I used to do a daily show, I used to do 4 days a week, and friends and family would be like, isn't this tiring? I'm like, this is so much easier to plan for because there's so much going on. It's a lot harder to plan for 1 day a week because you really have to, so much happens in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like next Thursday, next time we see you all, so much will have happened. Like tonight, we're not talking about Russian space nukes and warnings from the United States Congress. We're not talking about a dozen different stories, Biden's not being prosecuted, refusing to take cognitive tests. There are so many ridiculous things. The police officer that was like shooting into the back of the cruiser saying shots fired, I'm hit, but what really happened was an acorn fell and hit his car. Like, what?
I missed that, actually.
Oh, him and his partner, the sergeant, they emptied their magazines. They arrested a guy. He was cuffed in the back of their cruiser. They're questioning the complainant, and then the male officer's walking back to the car, and the body cam footage looks like this. Shots fired! He starts rolling on the ground. He's like, I'm hit! And then they just unload their magazines into the cruiser, and the guy who's handcuffed in there just like dives down into the floor, and a whole bunch of cops came. No gun, no shot fired. They reviewed the footage, and the investigator said, could it be that you might have heard an acorn fall and hit the roof of the cruiser? Because that sounds like a gunshot, but whatever.
Oh my gosh. I was going to ask, how did they discover, embarrassingly, that it was just acorns falling on the car? I guess when they couldn't find any other reason, any other explanation, they're all looking around the car and they're like, guys?
Well, I guess we are talking about it. The suspect survived and the officer resigned in shame. Now, they did find that the female sergeant's use of force was justified, and I agree, because she was shooting in response to her partner shooting and saying that he had been hit. So she technically did do the right thing. You internet trolls out there, she did. She did. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I'm honestly glad to hear that the officer resigned, and not because I have anything against him, but it seems like maybe he's wound a little too tight. He's a little stressed out.
You think?
Yeah.
When the guy hears an acorn hit a car, unloads a magazine. Yeah. It's a funny, I'll send it to you. He starts doing combat rolls like a video game. He's like, ah, and he's like rolling, doing front flips on the ground. It's not good.
I have to feel bad for him. That's just not a good day for him. And honestly, it was probably a blessing in disguise. Like,
I'll be honest, I don't feel bad for him at all. This guy, you say wound too tight. I've been around officers like this. I was in law enforcement, for listeners that doesn't know that. This guy sounds and his actions show me that he is scared to death. Like, just absolutely frightened. To have the response, he had a total panic response. The way he was manipulating his weapon was all wrong. He's like crawling around. It's just terrible. Yeah, that's like a whole nother. I could do a reaction video of just lessons learned from this guy.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right,
well,
free Haitians.
Free Haitians. So just as a little backstory, I'm sure that not many of you need this, but as we have seen in many of these sanctuary cities that all happen to be primarily run by Democrats who were so ready to welcome illegal immigrants into their cities when we had a president in office that was not going to allow our country to be invaded. And so ultimately, they were never really going to have to deal with the consequences of open borders. So, that's the point. It's really easy to virtue signal. Now that our borders are essentially open and non-existent, of course, all of our red state governors along the border are sending these illegal immigrants to the people that said, hey, we will bring them in. No human is illegal. We will provide for these people. It is our moral duty. As a result, of course, they do not have the housing and the resources to take care of these people. So we have seen the mayor of New York and the governor of Massachusetts and a couple of these other states start asking their citizens, to open their homes and start hosting these families that are now taking over their city. We have seen them take over the airport. There have been kids that have had their schools shut down so that they could be used as housing for illegal immigrants, and still there is not enough space. So they are saying it is time for you to open your homes. And of course, that sounds about as absurd as it is. And we thought there is no possible way even the most virtue signaling leftist is going to be dumb enough to open their home to somebody that they do not know. And this is not a racial thing. This is not a culture thing. It is just the fact that under all circumstances, every single one of us, regardless of political belief system or affiliation, knows that it is not a good idea to allow people that you don't know to come and live in your home. But we have been proven wrong. And this wonderful lady, I believe her name is Lisa, is demonstrating just how wrong all of us are. And she has now, adopted a family from Haiti, and they are now living in her home. And she is so excited about the benefit to her as she is offering this hospitality to this family. I think we should watch a little bit of this clip, and you guys can all let me know if you see any similarities between perhaps things that have happened in the past in our country.
Here on NBC 10 Boston, a migrant family from Haiti is sharing their experience. They're searching for shelter in the Boston area and then recently found a host home in Brookline. And now they're looking for jobs. As NBC 10's Aaron Logan reports, they say these last few weeks have been life-changing. And
it's been an emotional few weeks for Wildande Joseph and her husband. First, sleeping on the floor at Logan Airport, then in Children's Hospital with their 2-year-old daughter who got very sick. She felt bad, as any mother would. Now things are looking much brighter as they've been welcomed into Lisa Hillenbrand's Brookline apartment.
Tu niña es muy alegre ahora.
Sí, muy alegre. Cuando se levanta en la mañana, se dice, "Ay, Lisa."
She says her daughter is very happy. When she wakes up in the morning, she says, "Hi, Lisa," and everyone starts the day smiling.
It's a delight, and it's really fun having them. What I realized is there's so much prejudice against refugees, mostly because people don't know them.
Lisa says she feels like she has her own personal chef, as Wildande loves cooking.
¿Te gusta la ocupación?
Sí.
In fact, her goal is to open up her own restaurant restaurant.
Quiero tener mi propio restaurante.
The couple has their work permits and they've been taking English classes.
Yo cualquier trabajo va a hacer para guardar mi dinero para hacer mi futuro.
They're open to work anywhere to save money for their future. In the meantime, they're enjoying their time with Lisa, their new friend for life, and their daughter's new grandmother.
Se abuela mi niña.
They are hardworking, they want to learn, they want to be successful, and I feel great helping, and I get to understand the refugee crisis from the inside.
Lisa says she's so impressed by the number of people she's met right here at Brookline Town Hall meetings who've been stepping up and hosting families. She's hopeful more will do the same in the coming days and weeks. In Brookline,
I feel so bad that this is my reaction, but when I first saw this woman's face, I was like, she's a Karen. Her name might actually be Karen. And if she wasn't born a Karen, she might have changed her name legally at the courthouse to Karen.
And if she hasn't yet, she should. Because I had the very same thought. It's like when everybody hears the name Karen and their stereotypical white woman, this is, in fact, I believe this is the picture you will find next to Karen in the dictionary, in the Urban Dictionary. So, so guess what, guys? Yay, slavery! I don't even know where to start with this. I love how they said, sorry, her new friend for life. If that isn't rebranding, I don't know what is.
What are you talking about? She's a new grandma.
I know. She's got a new grandma. She's got people that will cook for her. And you should see how shiny her shoes are.
Wow.
How does this end? First, are we going to start are we going to be forced to do this? How is this woman going to get this family out of her house now? How does this get managed, and what is the outcome here? Because this doesn't go to a good place, in my opinion.
Or they rewrite history. Everyone gets these arranged house guests, and then some 10, 20 years later, when the next generation is blasting the current generation, it'll be some type of forced indentured servitude. And then 5, 10 years after that, they'll be like, they started up slavery again in the United States in 2035.
Yeah. I don't know. And I obviously, like, nothing against this family. Clearly they are not familiar with the Karen species where they're from, but I'm sure they're very nice people, but it's annoying yet expected for somebody like our friend Lisa / Karen to make the argument that that people are against bringing them into their home because they just don't know them, they just don't understand them. And
nope, that's not why.
Well, first of all, it's my house. It is not my responsibility to bring people into my home of any race or culture or life circumstance that I did not sign up to take care of. I mean, family members, yes, but random strangers, it's not my job. And I'm not going to be guilted into it. And I'm not going to defend myself against the argument that it's just because I don't know them or don't understand them, because that's not the argument anybody is making. So I think the lack of self-awareness, I think, is what really gets to me about this woman, and just the full circle that we have come since about 150 years ago. And if you guys will listen to Jack Postovic's take on it, he's just like, people were commenting in his video saying, just like the good old days. And he's like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. So I don't know, guys. Slavery is now called hosting.
You
if
just
you want to adopt a family and bring a personal chef in, I mean,
You take your
by all
phone
means.
and like document it now. You make a bunch of like reels.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my
Exactly.
house guest doing the chores, making the bed, cooking the meals.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
So
know,
I don't know.
in a strange kind of twist of fate, I would completely understand if this woman's children stopped speaking to her, which kind of brings us into our next story, which Samantha actually put out a long form video about this very topic, which I thought was very good. But the short that she put out, when I watched it, I was like, we need to make it a show topic because, I don't know, the distillation of the information is really good. If you haven't heard about this cutting off, no contact with parents, then we've got the one and lonely outspoken Samantha to tell you a little bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
Truly perplexed. And the only thing that I can imagine is this a trend? Like, I'm genuinely asking, because I am seeing a lot of millennials and Gen Z coming out making videos saying that they've gone no contact with their parents.
Once you engage in a particular kind of content, the algorithm sends more and more and more of that specific kind of content to you. And we're seeing proof of this over and over and over again, of people being coerced into doing things that are damaging, that are harmful, that have long-term consequences, and that are even deadly. And you really think that this particular thing, going no contact with your parents, is not that? I just have to say, if you see somebody in your life make a completely random decision that makes absolutely no sense at all, just ask them what their watch history is on TikTok or Instagram or Discord. Ask them what they've been consuming. Ask them what they've been listening to for the last few months. And then suddenly it's going to make sense.
I am truly perplexed, and the only...
So, no one is completely new to algorithms. No one's like, oh, I've never heard of an algorithm. What's this? But not only is the stuff that you're watching being served to you in a whole bunch of different ways, it's influencing your behavior. It's influencing your behavior to do crazy stuff. Like some years ago, there were all the kids that were doing the choke thing, and they were choking themselves to death, like through various means. We've seen things like, imagine in the 90s when anorexia was like all over the place. Imagine how that would have been furthered by nowadays social media algorithms. And we see it with literal terrorism, people being radicalized into becoming jihadists and Wahhabist Muslims. Not Muslim, I'm not saying Islam is well, Islam is pretty bad, aside from being a false doctrine altogether. But I'm not saying all Muslims are terrorists, but all Wahhabist Muslims are terrorists. I will say that. But I forgot where I started that thought. Yeah, these algorithms are encouraging you to do ridiculous behaviors, and my experience with the particular crime of human trafficking throws up my red flag, because what a gang, what a cartel, what a predator, even someone who's like a wife abuser tries to do is separate you from the social safety net that you have in your brothers or sisters, your parents, your family, your close friends, people who care about you, people who can see drastic changes in your behavior and your thinking and your ideology, people who can say, hey, it looks like you're on the edge of a cliff, maybe you need to come back a little bit. And now, instead of having to go out and be exposed to that, they're bringing it to you on your phone, and it's the first thing you see when you wake up, and the last thing you see before you go to sleep is TikTok or Instagram or YouTube's message to get you to do whatever they want. And maybe some government agencies as well.
Yeah. No, I have all the thoughts on this. I mean, yes, I've been primarily focusing on this issue of going no contact with your parents. And first of all, people often, I think, underestimate our ability or our susceptibility to the power of suggestion. I mean, has anyone ever mentioned like a food to you? They say something about French toast, and then suddenly you want French toast, that day or the next day. Like, you can't get it out of your head until you've had it. I mean, that's happened to me. Maybe I'm the only one, but we have this power of suggestion, and we've got TikTok here. That's algorithm is specifically designed. And by the way, if you've looked into the algorithms at all, the algorithm for TikTok is different depending on the country that you live in. And it's also owned by China. So when China has a particular agenda, when it comes to the United States of America, it is going to feed people in the United States the type of content that is going to be destructive. It's going to be destructive to them personally. It's going to talk them into doing things that are harmful to themselves and to their support system and to everything that matters. And I was listening to one of these videos about these guys talking about the the issue of the algorithm altogether. And he was saying, you find a politically divisive issue and you focus the content on that, and you can suddenly, divide people in 1,000 different ways based on that issue just by feeding them the same content. And I don't think it's necessarily just, about political issues. I think it's finding a vulnerability, finding something, the weak spot for people. And that is going to look different for every single person, which is, another component of these algorithms is that it is catered to you. If you click on something, 1 or 2 videos of the same type of thing, suddenly you are going to be flooded with that specific content because that is of interest to you. So if you're looking for something about weight loss, you're going to be fed content about losing weight. And we have seen, as we've seen with these hearings with the CEOs of the social media platforms last week, there was a mom that talked about her daughter that was anorexic, and she would participate in these 500 calorie challenges and these thin challenges. And she ended up harming her body so much that she is now permanently in a wheelchair. That was a weakness for her. We see people that struggle clearly with their identity. And, with all of this stuff they're being fed in school about gender identity, they click on 1 or 2 things about that, and suddenly they're in this rabbit hole where all they hear are all these voices around them, confusing them about their identity, making them question things about their personality that might link them to not being a boy or a girl. And then, of course, we see people like Jeffrey Marsh, who is this crazy, scary transgender activist on TikTok, advising kids on how to separate themselves from their parents and distance themselves, and being like, if your parents won't accept you, I'll be your new family. And so there's all of these situations that, it feeds off of who we are personally. And I know a lot of people are like, well, people aren't going to cut off their family for, they're not going to be influenced to do it. That's not something people are going to do because of TikTok. And it's like, you can say that about all of these other issues and look at them and say that is something that person would never have done. It does not make any sense. And there is no reason to believe that cutting off contact with your parents, with your primary support system, would be an exception to that rule. That is
I agree. The whole thing reminded me of what I put in the planner. And I've talked about from time, I used to talk about this a bit more, but the classic scene in The Matrix when Neo first meets Morpheus and he's saying the Matrix is everywhere, it's all around us. He's explaining that he never said the line, "What if I told you everything you know is a lie?" That's Mandela effect. That didn't happen. Watch the movie. I have do I have a VHS? I might have a VHS, but I promise you that line is not in the original. But when he gets down to the end of the statement, before the pills, choose the red pill or the blue pill, he's explaining to Neo that he needs to know the truth. Neo says, "What truth?" And he says that you are a slave. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, into a prison that you can't taste or see or touch, a prison for your mind. And I don't care what you think about government agencies and their interest. I don't care what you think about these big tech companies and their interest. they are self-interested and they don't give a crap about you or your family or your health or your outcome, and they will destroy you to pursue their ends. DARPA will, the agency will, any of the nameless, faceless intelligence agencies that you can think of. I'm telling you that as a statement of fact. Like, if I wouldn't go to prison, obviously, for telling you some of the things that I've worked on, I've worked on things that regularly cause me to lose sleep. But I know I have it on very good authority that any of the things that I worked on aren't inward facing. They're just pointed outward at our interest. But this is what they've done. You're thinking, I'm an autonomous being, having regular control of my life, but really you're in a psychological cage that big tech has made for you, and their pull is so powerful they can get you to cut off your parents, which sounds insane. Big tech's never met you, they never bought you dinner, they've never sent you anything or added any value to your life except for frivolous entertainment. And they can get you to do something like this. And this isn't children. These are adults. Many of them married. It seems like newlyweds and people maybe married under 5 years are just cutting off relationships with both sets of parents. It's incredible. The number of children out there that don't have access to their grandparents it's heartbreaking, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I really like the interview that you put on. Do you want to watch that? The CIA guy on Sean Ryan's show?
Sure.
Because it's a really good clip. I watched this whole interview when it came out, and he said some stuff. I was like, oh, that's a little bit on the line. But hey, it's his butt, not mine. Anyway, here you go.
As TikTok is, who controls TikTok's algorithm?
China.
Who controls TikTok's algorithm in the United States?
China.
And everything from the fact that white people are so racist they don't even know they're racist, to this idea that we have to respect the gender identity of the individual and their pronouns and all this other stuff. You just find a divisive topic and then you pour fuel onto that divisive topic. Once woke culture was born, then the Chinese started creating their own pots of money to fuel the fight. As popular as TikTok.
100% agree. So many of the social problems we have were created in the mind of the Chinese Communist Party and have been unleashed on unsuspecting Americans. And now we're like, oh, I've had this totally new thought. Now, it was put there. It was placed there by China.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I mean, and when you were talking about, the goal here is to cause harm, the goal is to cause irreversible harm. They don't care. If you go down the rabbit hole of gender ideology and you end up taking hormones and whatever else, and you end up getting surgery to remove your reproductive organs and whatnot, you are at a place where there is no going back. I mean, yes, you can go back and start using your birth name and your the pronouns that go with your biological sex. You can reverse in that way, but your body is so beyond damaged. And
the first thing to go? The first thing to go is always your reproductive health. Even if you don't get bottom surgery, your fertility, your reproductive health is the first thing to go. And it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I mean, so you end up in this space where you have done irreversible damage, and they're not accountable for that. They don't have any responsibility in that whatsoever. You can't sue them. You can't go after them. And a lot of these people wake up years down the road and realize us conspiracy theorists were right. And we were telling them, that this is meant to cause harm. This is not about living your authentic self. And it's the same with this young girl that caused irreversible damage just through competing in these thin challenges and whatnot. And the same thing can be said for people that are cutting off contact with their parents. I mean, yes, we all have things to work through, and I don't know. I didn't have an abusive childhood by any stretch of the imagination, but we all have parents that aren't perfect, and we are not perfect as parents. But I can see how easily it would be to take those childhood experiences and look at, a moment where your parent had a moment of weakness and they weren't perfect, and have some psychotherapist on TikTok twist your mind to believe that that was abuse. And it's to the point, I have seen so many parents as I've looked into this issue, that they are to the point, even if my child wanted to come back into my life at this point, I don't know that I would let them. And that is this level of irreversible damage that is possible by going down this path. And we just see the numerous ways that the family unit in general is under attack. And I think that's why that I've grabbed onto this subject so much, because I'm like, I want to keep people from going down that path. Because there is going to be a point when you're going to regret it, regardless of whether or not you think that right now. But yes, the goal of these messages is not to free you from under the thumb of a parent that doesn't understand you or whatever else. It's to cause you harm, to damage your life, and to get you to a place where you cannot fix it.
It's freaking wild. Do you want to move on to OnlyFans, or I've got the TikTok algorithm video pulled up as well.
That's up to you. I was just fascinated by what the guy was saying about how TikTok worked, because it's very much like, this is how this content is fed to you personally. And I just found it very interesting.
It's super interesting. It's a minute long, but I thought it was interesting. I also find it interesting when I get to see other people's TikTok and other people's homepage on YouTube to see what kind of content's on there.
Yeah.
All right. So this is TikTok CEO. Looks like Xiao Chu talking about how the algorithm works.
A recommendation algorithm is really just math. So for example, if you liked videos 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I like videos 1, 2, 3, and 5, maybe he liked videos 1, 2, 3, and 6, then what's going to happen is, because we like 1, 2, 3 at the same time, he's going to be shown 4, 5, 6, and so are we. And you can think about this repeated at scale in real time across more than 1 billion people. AI and machine learning has allowed this to be done at a very, very big scale. It learns the interest signals that people exhibit very quickly and shows you content that's really relevant for you in a very quick way. The other thing here is that we don't actually ask you 20 questions on whether you like a piece of content, what are your interests. We don't do that. We build that experience organically into the app experience. So you are voting with your thumbs, by watching a video, by swiping it, by liking it, by sharing it. You are basically exhibiting interest signals. And what it does mathematically is to take those signals, put it in a formula, and then matches it through pattern recognition. That's basically the idea behind it.
Yeah. I just find that, it's fascinating. And I mean, the way that he says it, it just sounds so, progressive and innovative. And we've got this really cool app that's going to cater the experience personally to you. But there are no protective mechanisms in place. So if you, like I said, if you click on just a couple of videos of something that you find interesting, suddenly it's just going to keep sending, and you're going to keep going down this path. It's not meant to just keep you in one place. It's like, well, you found this interesting. How about this? And it's just a little bit, feeding you breadcrumbs of that particular topic, but it's leading you to a particular destination. So I just find it fascinating.
That's true, but I want to tell you all a more pernicious thing that he left out for obvious reasons. But it's if we pull on the thread of this statement that the formula matches through pattern recognition. So if we think about this from the perspective of a threat actor, of a bad guy, I talked, I think I did a solo episode maybe, but I talked about dope a lot from the military, data on previous engagements. And this is to see the last time that I targeted this thing, and under these circumstances and this type of environment with this type of weapon or this type of enticement, inducement, this is what happened. other patterns that they're recognizing, and it's so funny because he said, we're not having you do a survey. They don't need to. Just like you can look at metadata of a photo or this video, they're looking at the metadata that make up you, the avatar of you, and says, Caucasian female, lives in this state, this age range, and saying, black male, mid-30s, like whatever, and they're making these archetypes of people. So they have data on previous engagement. So when they try something pernicious on black single male, black married male, black atheist, black Christian married male, when they get some bad action, some bad behavior, some nefarious outcome to happen, and they test it just like he described with the numbers, when it works, then they try that with other people that meet that same archetype. So I can't really credit this to myself. It's definitely because of what I did in my last job. I'm not someone who struggles with and deals with pornography. I know a lot of men who do. I do know that it's a trauma because I can remember the first pornography I ever saw. I can almost remember the day. I could probably figure out the day, but it's something that actually scars you mentally, because it's like your soul knows that you're not supposed to see this, be doing this. There's no mechanism for consent in that type of encounter. But still, on YouTube, which is supposed to have one of the most sophisticated algorithms of them all, even more so than TikTok's, still in my shorts feed and on my homepage, if it's like trashy female crap on the internet, I have no interest in it. But still, like once a week, one of those carrots gets dangled, and they're trying to capture people into bad behavior, to include gambling, to include, the Michael Scott, the Nigerian prince or whatever. A lot of those are scams, but a lot of those are things that the key holders of the algorithms are actually testing on different markets, and they consider you as this type of person who meets these different markers. Mm-hmm. That's like the test market. It's really bad. That Netflix special about it that they did on Facebook did a really good job of kind of talking about it. But one day, maybe in 100 years, they'll be looking under the hood of all these things, and all of the ick of what they're really doing will be exposed. But it's bad, folks. It's bad.
Yep, absolutely. And I just have to say, I don't think that there is anything at this point that people cannot be influenced to do through these algorithms. I don't think that there's a limit. So, moral of the story, don't ignore your parents. Don't cut them off. If there's an issue, go talk to them, please.
All right. Well, speaking of porn and parents, which is something that I never thought that I would say, Florida private Christian school expels children of mother who promoted her OnlyFans with a decal on her car. Wasn't really fair. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of fair. But this is your story, so take it away. Not your personal story. Samantha did not do this.
This wasn't me, guys. I have not been asked to take OnlyFans decals off my car, so just so we know. So just a little backstory. This is a Florida mom of two whose boys have been attending this Christian academy, and she was told that she could not bring her personal vehicle on school campus anymore to pick up her kids, to be in the car line, because she has these large decals. I don't know what you thought I was going to say there, but they're decals on the back windshield. And apparently this was an issue for the Christian school administrator, so they asked her to start parking across the street and walk her kids to school. And surprisingly, she agreed to do this, which I thought was nice of her. So she started parking across the street, walking her boys into school. Well, apparently that was not enough for the school administrators, and they ended up expelling both of her kids from the school and sending a letter to herself and her husband, because she is married and they run this OnlyFans business together. And
well, you
bring
did
in
more
about
research than I did, because I did not see
yeah,
that.
so they bring in about $20,000 a month as a couple with her OnlyFans account. And the school administrator sent a letter to her saying that they were going to unenroll her children from the school until she not only took the decals off of her car, but also until her and her husband stopped their OnlyFans business altogether. So that is the story. First of all, knowing the bigger picture here, do you feel like that was a fair decision?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, 100%. There's no First Amendment violation. This is not a government act, or this is a private school. A private school can do whatever they want. If it was a public school, guys, they wouldn't care. They would be like, woo, the teachers would be out there scanning the QR code. The principal would be like, come on, kids, let's look up this OnlyFans. We can watch it together at recess. And, you know, they would have her parading around. You know, they've got drag queen story hour. They could have OnlyFans ho story hour. And I guess
They'd
technically,
be all about, you know, bring your parent to school day for what is your parent, you know, career day at school.
I guess technically, if she's doing it with her husband, she's not a hoe. But I could say a lot of things about this family. No, I think it's totally fine. I think specifically private Christian school, you know, they look at the scripture. They have a duty to protect the flock. They have a duty to do a lot of things. And I would hope that they Mark 18'd her, which actually that could sound like a threat, because Mark 18 is also a weapon. But the book of Mark, chapter 18, I think Mark 18:28 or something like that, It talks about bringing up grievances with a brother, with a fellow believer, directly to them. So you bring it up one-to-one. If that doesn't work, then you bring it up one to some with a group, maybe some mediators. If that doesn't work, then you bring it up one to all. So you bring it before the actual church and have it out. I can't see my church having this as public debate. Like, everyone would be like, girl, no. Actually, that's a spicier thing, because I would say that a porn star would be welcome at church. Wouldn't want them advertising their business there. But it's complicated because it's on her car. But at the school, 100% they did the right thing.
And I do agree with that. I think I'm just kind of on the fence because, one, I feel really bad for her kids. I feel really bad, more so that this is the environment that they're living in, and that mom and dad have this family business, you know, and knowing that their friends in school can see the advertisement on the back of the car, and you know, at least at least a handful of people at school, including the staff, have looked up this woman. And, you know, and it just bothers me so badly how minimized this issue has become. People are running these accounts from their home. They're engaging in this as couples. Are you okay?
Yeah, my girls are accosting the baby boy. So the 9-year-old says.
What is happening?
Yeah, sorry.
So anyway, you know, I feel really bad for the boys, and, you know, honestly, this is just asking for trouble in this area for them for the rest of their lives. I feel bad that they aren't able to go to school anymore, that they're not able to attend school with their friends. There are so many consequences that the kids have to deal with because their mom is doing this.
they're also living the Genesis story, because literally that's where the pop culture phrase "sins of the father," like, everyone talks about generational curses, generational wealth. What's really happening is the biblical wisdom, knowledge and reverence for God applied in your life and passed down to your children is what's actually happening. So the kids are paying for the sins of the father, which is not their fault, but so did Cain and Abel. They were supposed to inherit a perfect earth. Their parents had screwed up. They get kicked out of the garden, and then one of them kills the other one. It's just been a whole soap opera from the very beginning. But train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they will not depart from it. Very difficult to train up a child in the way they should go following this book, and also shooting porn for all of the internet. There's some serious worldview issues there, and I don't think the kids should be taken away from the parents, but they're gonna have some stellar counseling sessions someday soon. So they're gonna make a counselor a rich person.
Yeah, as many of the kids today are. Therapy is going to be a booming business for a long time. Yeah, I think it's just the kids that I feel really, really bad for. And and it's hard. Well, I wouldn't say it's hard, because I don't really care what people think, but it's just that camp of, are we being judgy Christians? Are we trying to force our will on other people? And, obviously I don't know what's in the enrollment agreement when you put your kids in this school, but I'm sure that there's some kind of understanding that you're going to abide by a certain set of standards and morals and principles by choosing to send your kid to a Christian academy. I just don't know how you square with that anyway. Like, you're a porn star and you want to go to a Christian academy. Like,
weird.
I don't know.
So much of the story was weird. It happened in Florida. Like, is the family like conservative? It's all very confusing.
I just have to say, if anybody is on the trajectory for no contact with their parents, it would be these boys. So.
We knew each other when, what is her name? There's like a super famous porn star. She followed me on Twitter. She has like millions of followers.
Oh, I remember you telling me about it. I don't remember what her name was.
I don't remember either. Obviously not a fan. But I have the word Ashley Madison in my head. I know that's not it. That's that old website that got all those government cronies on it, signing up with their government emails like a bunch of idiots. I thought it'd come to me. It hasn't. But anyway, yeah. She responded to my message and unfollowed me, which is great. I don't think we're judgmental Christians. Whether you're religious or not, you listening, watching this, wherever you are, if you consider yourself a harm reductionist, you want to see society thrive, which means the individual needs to thrive, the family needs to thrive, the community needs to thrive, and that's how you have a thriving society. There is your classical civics and philosophy lesson 101. None of that can be true when we have this. This is worse than bread and circuses. This is advertising to your children and their peers and their kind of school mentors, their teachers, you and your husband's Pound Town videos. Like, absolutely not. That's serious harm. Yeah. Anyway, they're going to spend a lot of hours on some therapist couch. The therapist is probably going to be looking at it like, I can't believe your parents did this. And Judy, it is all about destroying the family. You nailed it.
And I would also like to highlight a comment that my mom says. She said, I do appreciate that my daughter calls me regularly. I love hearing about what she's doing and about the kids. It's very important to parents to know their children care. Just don't call the cops. There is Backstory to that, my mom, I think it was about a year ago when my grandmother was about to pass away, and her brothers were messaging me on social media and calling me, trying to get a hold of my mom. And I couldn't get a hold of her. I kept trying to call her, and my mom lives by herself. So I was very concerned. And so I called the police and sent them to her house. That is how much I care about my mom. And I just want you to know it's not because we have a perfect relationship. It's not that she's been a perfect parent or I have been a perfect daughter. It's just, you know, we understand that having our parents in our lives is irreplaceable, and, you know, it's worth working those things out and letting and being forgiving and being understanding, especially when it comes to your parents and your kids. So yeah, so that's the story behind that.
Couldn't agree more. This Joe Mobley guy's comment I'm going to pull up to tell you guys to smash the like button and make sure that you like, you share, and you subscribe. The share thing is actually really important because the algorithm's not doing Samantha and I any favors, but when you like the content, text it to your friend. They can't stop you. It's like a hack. It's awesome. And then it tinkers with the algorithm. It's a whole thing. When I have a piece of content do really well, it's fun. The engagement's fun. But the thing that secretly just like tickles my little heart is knowing that big tech hates it. They're like, ah. Yeah, I don't know if that happens to you, but
there is some social justice warrior out there whose little heart crumbles every time a conservative gets a like or a subscriber.
Yep, there's someone at YouTube that's just like, ah, blue hair flying everywhere.
Oh my gosh, so traumatized. The next day they change their pronouns again.
My pronouns on most of the apps are servant of Christ. I'm just waiting for, including LinkedIn, which is the big one. I'm just waiting for someone to get all outraged. Yeah. All right. So speaking of outrage, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. We are going to react to some freaking videos and give you our hot takes. This is a classic fake outrage video.
Words that white people cannot say.
Just gonna start it over. Maybe. Uh-oh. Hello. All right, maybe I'll have to click the link. Yeah, let's click the link. Well, I tried to start the video over for you all, and it failed. Is it failing again? This video's so funny. You have to work.
I watched it earlier. I thoroughly appreciated it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Where is someone at YouTube like screwing with me right now?
They're like, make fun of me and my blue hair. I'll show you.
Are you serious? Oh man, that stinks. All right, I'm gonna try and get that one to work. We'll have to watch this one instead.
Babe, I gotta tell you something. Just please don't be mad, okay?
No, talk to me, shorty. What's up? Talk to me.
I used to be a Christian.
A Christian? I thought you was gonna say something serious.
You not mad?
Nah, I'm not mad.
Okay, good, because honestly, I'm so much happier being a Christina.
What? What'd you say?
Oh.
I love it. You know, first of all, I am so grateful that I do not have to date in this day and age. Like, that sounds like an absolute nightmare to me. But second of all, you kind of have to wonder how often this kind of thing just happens. Like, just, you know, you worry about things in the dating space these days that I just never imagined would be a problem.
I wonder if they have the clip on TikTok. What's this guy's name? Quindale. Really? Is he shadow banned? Like, what the?
Another triggered Karen.
Is that it?
I play to a lot of black audience.
No, yeah.
A lot of black audiences.
That's not words black people can't say. Oh, come on. I can't believe that it won't play. That's upsetting. All right, we'll watch this one. Wait, where is it? Let me get it together here. I could have sworn I pulled. Oh yes, this one. I had to edit this one because bad words. But
I did not break the law.
Why would he want
False.
to remember the day that his son died? Why? We're not the.
I'm just gonna pause it. That's a huge red flag. He doesn't remember the day that his son died, and he keeps talking about people who are long dead as if they're alive because he has dementia. It's a classic dementia symptom. He's living in the past. He thinks that Nixon's the president or whatever. But anyway, here's the rest of the double standard clip, because this is after he's been found basically guilty by the Department of Justice for putting classified documents in his garage, where every time the door opens up, you can see classified documents from the sidewalk, and his crackhead son had access to it. Anyway, this is what they're talking about.
The most intelligent maybe in the world, but we're telling you the truth.
Wait a minute, Joy. I agree with.
Why? We're not the most intelligent maybe in the world, but we're telling you the truth.
Wait a minute, Joy. I agree with you that y'all are not very intelligent. But saying that you tell the truth is an insult to the word truth. I mean, y'all been sitting here for years saying that Trump is not above the law, Trump is not above the law. Yet the DOJ just confirmed that Biden actually broke the law and they didn't even charge him. So I don't hear you saying Joe Biden is not above the law. Instead, you are making excuses for him. And it's so obvious how dishonest you are. And again, you just confirm your lack of intelligence. So thank God I'm on this panel to bring you some fucking intelligence.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I wish that would happen in real life, but they would never let him talk long enough to get that that in there.
Exactly.
I
wish they had whenever The View has a conservative on, it's like a milquetoast conservative. They never have anyone like us on. I remember a liberal news station had me on in 2021, and 30-minute talk. They probably aired 8 or 9 minutes of it. But it was a pretty juicy debate, because someone was talking about he was talking about prison rates, and I basically did a baby Larry Elder on him, because he was trying to say, the police are racist and everything's racist, and we just talked about the realities of welfare and what white and black Americans do and don't do. God, I feel sorry for people who still think the United States is racist and all that. All right, here's a clip of James Wood, great account to follow on Twitter. But if you're wondering what the illegals are up to in our country, here's one in the subway.
And this is not funny, guys.
What are these guys standing up for? What are you gonna do? What are these people doing? Mostly dudes. I just want to point out, this guy exclusively smacked women. And the guys are looking scared. Some of the guys are they're not taking off running, but they're really moving out of the way. This
my
is
goodness.
outrageous.
Well, and all of these guys know if I try and step in and help these women, first of all, because of the district attorney in the area, we saw what happened to Daniel Penny. They're scared to step in. They're scared to step in and stand up for these women and do anything, because there is no reward for good behavior these days. If you try and protect anyone, they're going to come after you, especially if it involves you and a minority, somebody of the minority population. I'm not laughing at that girl getting punched in the face because that is horrifying, but she's wearing a mask and I'm like, did you vote for this? Is this something that you supported?
No, she
like
totally
you voted for
did.
this sanctuary city when we told you that this was going to be a dangerous situation. It's just really hard to feel bad with this stuff happening when we tried to warn you and you did not listen, and you're still not listening.
I just want this video. It's still here. It's literally still
thinking,
spinning. I think YouTube must have taken it down.
Really?
It has 7.4 million views.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's not it. No, they I think they took it down. Oh, this sounds funny. White people who claim they don't see color. I can't just pull it up because language. Yeah, this is not the right one. Oh, well, maybe next time. So, this is for the after show. So we're talking a little bit about the Super Bowl. If you want to be here for that, then go to my locals community, which is somewhere. There we go. thejoemobleyshow.locals.com, or I guess you could, from my regular website, you can just throw a slash. I don't know. Is it /members or /locals? thejoemobleyshow.com /member. Yeah, that's what it takes to. Perfect. Anyway, I felt a little bit creepy making this thumbnail. Can I just confess that? Like, I feel like this is like Hunter Biden, like telling his niece, like, shh, don't tell Dad. Anyway.
All right. Well, I think that is all we have. All of the joyful news that we have to share with you guys tonight.
Exactly. So, I'm 6 minutes late. Well, I'm 6 minutes late to my own after show. So, yes, that is all we have for y'all. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And we'll see you next week. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. If that was the first prayer you've ever prayed, I hope it won't be the last. Until next time, this is The Joe Mobley Show.